Well, can you believe it? Sadly, exactly a year ago since Anglican Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu had died. He'd been remembered, of course, for his love and his support for children, especially around Christmas time. We always saw him with little ones, didn't we? He died at the age of 90 with a long battle with cancer. Many say they miss, of course, his humor and his wisdom and often hail him as a freedom fighter and also his support for the LGBTQI plus community, spending most of his life advocating for racial equality. Let's take a look now what is a year later as we remember the icon. And I remember actually speaking to Dr. Mamphela Ramphele, acting chairperson of the Tutu IP Trust. Doctor, it was a year ago that I remember you and I actually talking when the sad news came through. It felt like it was just yesterday. I can't believe it's been a year. How have you been coping, knowing that the Arch has been gone for a year already? Good evening.
Good evening and good evening to your listeners. We have been celebrating the Archbishop's life. From the time he closed his eyes, we knew that our responsibility was to make sure that we keep his teachings, his example alive in the minds of South Africans. We have missed him this last year because we as a country have been going through so much that we needed that voice of reason, that person who was a prophet, who would speak truth to power, who would also love us as we are, with all our weaknesses. But more importantly, he constantly reminded us that we are one human family. And if we believed in Ubuntu, that interconnectedness and interdependence, there will be no way in which people in leadership positions would steal from the most vulnerable amongst us.
And I always remember the laugh. I think all of us, Doctor, will always remember the Archer's laugh as well. But I think whenever we used to cover any kind of media, especially here at eNCA, any kind of event during Christmas, we were always bound to see, especially in his slightly younger years, the Archbishop with children, just doing what he was so well known for, giving children the love and the care that they need. And I think that's being missed this year especially, isn't it?
Absolutely. But in giving the love and care to children, he never stopped to remind us that no child should be born into circumstances where they have to depend on charity to be able to have their dignity, their respect, and the love that every child is entitled to. And so, yes, he lived a life of exemplifying the values he believed in, but he never stopped to urge us to change the socio-economic and political system in our country to be able to create the South Africa where every child is loved, cared for, and proud of who they are.
Talk to me about the foundation. How does the foundation take the work of the Arch forward? Because obviously when he was still with us, he was always very vocal about what the foundation should be doing. And I always remember him talking about that the work won't stop when one day he's called back home, was the words he used to use. What has the foundation been looking like the last year? What has actually been done in his memory?
Well, the foundation is a sister institution to the one I chair. I chair the IP Trust, which is the trust that is mandated to be a steward to all of his incredible IP, which represents his talks, his books, his images, and the essence of his teachings. The foundation is there to translate that IP, those values, into programs. And they have, over the years, been running the annual Peace Lecture. They have programs for young people. They have leadership programs. They, as we speak, have an exhibition at the Old Granary where we are both located as the sister institutions to remind people of the truth to power that the Archbishop's teachings represented. So we work in tandem.
We're going into a new year, aren't we? We've had new babies born on Christmas Day, just yesterday, but youngsters coming through primary school, coming through high school, university, that perhaps don't know the Arch the way you did, and certainly I did, even in my slightly younger years. I didn't know him obviously nearly as well as you did, Doctor. But as we go into a new year, if you were to try and explain to someone who never had the chance to get to know the Arch and see him at the height of his influence, how would you describe that to the youth of South Africa? Say it's grade 1s and grade 2s of next year. How would you describe the Arch to them if you were to talk to them?
The beauty of it is that the Arch's face and his unmistakable big nose is, once you have shown it to children, they can identify. But importantly, as you were asking me what the foundation is doing, one of the things they're contemplating doing is to have puppets that will represent the Tutu as they would have known him if they had been older. But also the Tutu would speak to them as the child he once was. And remember, he grew up in very humble circumstances with a domestic worker mother and a teaching father. And so he'll be able to talk to them through these puppets, through these images that we are going to make sure that we support the foundation in doing, so that young people can know that you can come from the poorest environment, have TB as he had, and be near death as he was, and still grow into this great giant that is now unmistakably known across the globe. We can become the best versions of ourselves if we believe that God loves us. We are loved creatures, and we are connected by a loving human family. And in that loving human family, we should be able to flourish. And so I have no doubt that what we and the foundation are doing together will make sure that the Archbishop can never be forgotten, neither by young kids or by the golden oldies of my generation.
The golden oldies. I would never have said it, and I'm not even going to agree with you because you said it. Doctor, it's always lovely to talk to you. It's a much more reflective and I would say a happier discussion you and I are having, as opposed to this time a year ago when the news came out that the Arch had died. Dr. Ramphele, I always appreciate your time. I wish you nothing but the best for 2023, and thank you for speaking to us a day after Christmas. Dr. Mamphela Ramphele joining us here on eNCA of the Tutu IP Trust.